Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to a special video of Critique Corner. No normal live stream this week, so we thought we would do this little targeted video, I guess you could say, where we're just talking about the box office and breaking it down for everybody, and giving our takes on the state of certain movies. And if you like this format, if you prefer, we do just like a separate video as opposed to making it part of our live stream. Let us know.
Yep. Uh, and we're the podcast that is not actually supported by Subway, but yeah, I had one of their new Philly cheesesteak sandwiches tonight. If they want to throw me a sandwich occasionally, I'll shill.
Yes.
But yep. So
All right. So
let's pull up our good friends, the numbers.
yes.
Now they're showing it for Tuesday, which is the most recent day that we have as of this recording, which is good because I wanted to see if Thor fit a particular pattern we've seen with certain movies that kind of fall off a cliff lately. But let's first take a look at the weekend chart.
Yes.
Now, as one might expect, the top movie of last week was Thor: Love and Thunder, coming in at $144 million. Now, well, that's going to be our main topic, but let's take a quick look here at some of the other ones. I think the biggest thing I'm noticing is that Top Gun up till now has been having like minute drops of like, 20, 30. I think it even had one weekend where it was like 15%.
Mm,
But for this week over last, it went down like 40%.
mm.
Now, and apologies if you hear the noise of kids playing outside. It is currently 80 degrees in my apartment, so I am not doing this with a closed window.
No
All right.
problem. We will work with it.
Yep. So Top Gun Maverick has been making obscene amounts of money. It seems to finally be coming down to earth, though it was still the number 3 movie last weekend in its 7th week.
Wow.
Uh,
Oh, man.
yeah, this movie just won't die.
No.
Now, now the flip side is that it's like a super patriotic movie coming off of July 4th. That might not be a fair comparison.
True.
So
Yeah.
we're gonna see how it does. That's like the little movie that could.
Yes.
The little movie that couldn't was Lightyear, which if you zoom in on your screen, you'll notice that it lost almost half of its movie theaters week over week.
Oh.
That's basically like, okay, fine. Nobody wants to see this movie. We'll just shove it up on Disney Plus and make up a statistic about how successful it is.
Yeah.
It was the top boys movie released on Disney Plus this year. Top boys animated movie. Well, what's
Yes.
the other boys animated movie you put up on Disney Plus this year? Shut up. That's what. It was Turning Red. Isn't that specifically a girls' movie about the girls' experience with certain girl maturity themes? Shut up.
Shut up. Quit pointing out all our mistakes.
Yes. And of course, you have some of the other holdovers like Jurassic World and Elvis and the Black Phone.
I have no idea what the black phone is.
It's a horror movie. I think Raimi's involved with it somehow.
Mm.
It was either a horror or a thriller. I forget which. It's not my type of thing, but people have been liking it, so good on them.
It's it's looks like it's made what 80 or 62 million so far.
Yeah, and
Uh,
let's pull it up just for comparison here.
oh,
Okay,
101.
that's clearly a horror movie.
Oh yeah. Clearly.
Okay, you know what people say that why do you have to have a poster tell you what the movie's about? Like I don't know, it works pretty well for me. Anyway,
Yeah.
and it's on a budget of like
I'm probably in like 5 million.
I think it was okay. The numbers doesn't have it. I thought I heard somewhere like 30 million,
Oh wow. Okay.
but it's like they're in the black at this point.
They're in the black. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So, but the weirdest one here is Have you heard? Does the phrase "Marcel the Shell with shoes on" mean anything to you?
No.
So that is one I saw a trailer of that before I saw Bob's Burgers, the movie,
Hmm.
and I swear I felt like I was watching an experiment, or I felt like okay, this is a fake trailer, right? This is like a YouTube video with where somebody I don't know, like PewDiePie or somebody paid extra money to or, somebody somebody with more money than sense
Yeah.
paid to have this fake movie trailer made just to advertise a movie that doesn't exist. Like it's a stop motion movie. That's the main character,
Ah. Oh,
and yet I've heard really good things about it. It's apparently based on somebody's old YouTube channel,
okay.
but still, it's like just
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like an anthropomorphic shell who achieves sentience and tries to find others like himself.
That sounds like a movie that would have been shown at the movie theater that I worked at when I was in college.
Uh, oh, kind of like a art house thing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Even though it was a Regal theater.
Hmm. Well, I guess art house movies got to be shown somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. Especially in Austin, Texas.
Hmm. Yeah, and the weird thing is like Marcel the Shell with Shoes on, #8 movie in the country. Now that's like making 300,000 over the weekend. That's also out of 48 theaters.
Hmm.
Uh, A24. Are you familiar with the weird Everything Everywhere All at Once release schedule that A24 did for them?
No, I didn't hear
It,
about that.
it, so it's like most movies, they open up in as many theaters as they're going to get. Maybe sometimes if there's like a big demand, the second weekend they'll add more theaters, and then it just slowly trails off over there.
Hmm.
A24 seems to like to release their movies in like a weird bell curve where like they'll release it in a small handful of theaters and they'll just let it build and build and build and build and build.
Hmm.
Like Everything Everywhere All at Once. Like we'll just pull that up for a quick reference. Like you'll notice how it's like just a really steady curve here, and that the numbers throws up their hands at trying to plot this with an estimated trend line because like so the first weekend has 10 theaters, then 38, then 1250, then 2200, then 22 the 2133, then down to 1500, then 1700, then 1500, then 1100, then 1400, and then it finally shrinks back down to like 500 and now it's like in the
200.
200ish. Yeah, it's like okay, you wonder what this would have done if they had just had a normal ass release schedule.
Yeah.
Because everything I've heard about this movie is great.
Yeah, I've heard it's really good. It's actually a fun multiverse movie.
Yes. Um, so that's the general box office. Not much has changed except for the presence of Thor,
Mhm.
which well, let's talk a little bit about our buddy Thor because I'm going to show a famous image here. Is this a rabbit or is it a duck?
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
Yep. Either this is a duck facing left, so like you have its beak and you have like little ducky tongue and the ducky eyes, but it has a weird cleft on the back of its head, or it's a rabbit facing right and those are its ears, and you wonder what this tuft of hair is, but like the nose makes much more sense.
Hmm. Yeah.
I swear that Thor Love and Thunder's box office is whatever the hell you want it to be. Do you think that Disney is great and you love everything that Marvel comes out with? Then it's an enormous success.
Hmm.
Do you hate Disney for you perceiving it desecrating your favorite childhood franchises? Then it's a woke bomb that shows that the audience is anti woke, 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 woke.
Hmm.
Yeah. And the funny thing is that they both sides have a leg to stand on here.
Hmm.
All right, so I'm just going to show a couple of examples we found you know, from the MSN. Thor: Love and Thunder booms at UK box office. Has a nice opening weekend here, and it's just like super positive, and that's like a lot of like the more mainstream takes on it.
Hmm.
On the other hand, You have Bleeding Fool, who is they hate they hate Disney. They hate woke
Yes.
things, and they
Yes.
hate woke Disney most of all, or
Hmm.
perceived woke Disney most of all. Um,
Yes.
and they grudgingly admit it was the top of the box office. But the headline is Thor 4 overcame bad reviews to dominate the weekend box office. And then before they even get to the number, they make a point that Thor Love and Thunder isn't doing as well as expected in reviews, but its box office numbers clearly aren't suffering because of it. Deadline reports the film is currently scoring a B plus from Cinema Score, the same as previous MCU film Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
Mm.
Uh,
Three and a
and the
half. Yeah.
film's ComScore Screen Engine post track is sitting at 3.5 stars and a 77% positive rating, which puts it just above Eternal's 75% rating. That's seriously just like, okay, it's like those are decent sounding ratings, but we're gonna lump it in with a movie that nobody liked.
Yes. Yeah. If it's got a score that's just a little bit better than Eternals, that's. Ooh.
Yeah. Also, Cinema Score tends to be like as useful as grades in a liberal arts class, in the sense that everything is an A, and if it isn't an A, that's a problem.
Hmm.
A or A minus. Like a B plus is actually like unusually low for it, because honestly, it's like what they're measuring is, hey, audience, did you enjoy the movie? Would you say that others should go to the movie? And people generally go to movies that they think will make them happy. So that tends to be a self selection thing.
Yes. Yeah, and of course, you got people who are just diehard Marvel fans, and they're just like, "Oh, new Marvel movie."
Must see. Got
Must,
to see it
yes,
before I get spoiled.
yes.
Now, so Duck or Bunny? Well, let's take a quick look at the actual box office for Thor to this point. So, in its opening weekend, it made about 144 million in America, for around 300-ish, low 300s internationally for its opening weekend,
Yeah.
which sounds good, but until you compare it against a budget of 250 million.
Hmm.
Now I've heard estimates that this thing had like a um, a box office of, what do you call it, or advertising of budget of 200 million,
Okay.
which, but to use our usual fair comparison point, we'll do like the typical thing and add on, you know, we'll multiply the movie's budget by 1.5, divide by 0.6, and its break-even number is 625 million. So I think it has a pretty good shot of hitting that, but it has a pretty good shot of also not hitting that,
Hmm.
which is weird. It feels weird to have a OG Avenger movie where you're like, is this actually going to make money?
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, and yeah, it's right on that line of like, oh, it could do it, but then it can't, and then it's. I guess it all depends on like with Doctor Strange, word of mouth starts to get out that, well, it's really not that good, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe you should wait till it comes out on Disney Plus.
Yep. Speaking of Doctor Strange, so Doctor Strange is a good comparison point. Doctor Strange's opening weekend was 187 million. So 40 million ahead of Thor,
Hmm.
which means that if Doctor Strange had been the one with the $250 million budget, it would have blown past it, because it's not going to hit $1 billion at this point, but around 950 million. That
Yeah.
it's doing good.
Hmm.
It,
Yeah.
like it did fine.
Yeah, not but yeah, but they were expecting it to do like over a billion, like billion and a half maybe.
Right. And here's the interesting thing about the numbers plot lines. Uh, so their plot lines are based on historical estimates of what movies typically do, based on that first weekend. I'm starting to think that they're an awful gauge for Marvel movies.
Mm,
Like Shang-Chi didn't go under, but it's like so far every recent Marvel movie has either been, it's on the low end of its projections based on its opening weekend.
mm,
And Shang-Chi is not a fair comparison point because it came out on Memorial Day weekend with absolutely no competition at a time when movie theaters were just kind of opening up
right.
or had been open-ish for a bit.
Yeah, so it wouldn't pull in the same kind of money that a movie this coming out this year would have.
Right. I do question how much more money it would have made because again, if Thor is, I mean, okay, like Thor, I can't say it. Like
Yeah,
Shang-Chi did all right ish,
I think it probably would have done. It probably would have done another 100 million, maybe.
probably.
Yeah,
But yeah, like Thor is performing on the low end of its projection. Although we only have 2 extra days at this point, so it's like we're really going to have the good numbers next week.
yeah, yeah. Second weekend is always kind of the indicator of where the movie's going to go. If there's like a huge drop off or moderate drop off.
Yep. It also passed a test that Doctor Strange and a few other recent flops like Lightyear have failed to clear, which is it's a bad sign when you make less money on the first Tuesday than you did on the first Monday,
Mm,
because Tuesday is a day where a lot of theaters will do like discount tickets or free popcorn or something to try to get you in.
right.
So Doctor Strange, its first Tuesday was actually a little bit down from its first Monday. 13.6 versus 12.6.
Yeah.
Where this is like 12.1 versus 13.6.
Okay.
So it cleared that hurdle. But on the other hand, it still has not caught up with Doctor Strange's just first weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's yeah. Yeah, you're right. Marvel movies have a very weird way of very weird box office trends. It's just yeah.
Super front loaded.
Yeah.
In
And
fact,
yeah, well, I think it's meant to be that way because they want to make all of their money back on in the opening weekend, or at least most of it back in the opening weekend.
right. And I think there's also like that's part of the strategy, I think, too, is so historically, Disney has strong armed movie theaters into giving them a really high percentage of opening weekend tickets. I think I heard that like, and Warner Brothers does this too. I think that for things like the last Harry Potter movie, that opening weekend, Warner might have taken home like 90%. I'd have to look that up. That sounds reasonable from what I recall.
Oh, hmm.
Um, um, uh, Actually, okay. So let's go ahead and I just looked up other Marvel movies. Guess what? This is not a new pattern.
Oh,
That's
wow,
Captain America: Civil War.
whoa, that looks just like Shang Chi.
Yeah, actually, Shang-Chi, if you just go by the trend line and ignore numbers, Shang-Chi, like it was still drawn within the lines.
Hmm.
No, Captain America: Civil War looks like Doctor
Doctor
Strange
Strange.
and uh,
Wow.
and Thor.
Hmm.
So that actually kind of challenges the whole, oh, it's because the movies have gotten woke or stale or whatever.
Hmm.
However, it is interesting that the let's see here, is there actually a bigger gap? I keep pulling up Top Gun Maverick here just because it's the strange outlier that ridiculously outperformed its trend.
Yes.
If we wanted to do an actual fair one, like Jurassic World Dominion, it's also on the low end of its projection because it hasn't had great word of mouth. Basically, everything I've heard about it is, do you want to see dinosaurs? Yeah. Do you care if those dinosaurs are in a compelling story? No, I just want to see dinosaurs. Do we have a movie for you?
Ooh, well.
Yeah. In fact, let's see how far back this trend goes. Let me pull up Guardians of the Galaxy just for a quick comparison. Okay. Now Guardians of the Galaxy is like the opposite. This is what happens when you have a good word of mouth and leg out.
Mm. Wow.
Wait a minute. Was domestic box office going into December? This thing was still in like second run theaters for a long time. Interesting.
Wow. Hmm.
But yeah, like this is what happens when you have like a smaller opening, but you have excellent word of mouth.
Uh-huh.
So
And I think this movie, I want to say, like, Guardians came out in August.
it did. Yeah, which is like an unusual time to have a major movie come out.
Yeah.
I remember people going, "What kind of stupid idiot put it out in August?" Like somebody who wanted to give an unusual movie room to shine.
Yes.
But okay, so now here's like I think I got caught. I think I may have drifted off topic.
Yeah.
So traditionally, because you would get the best percentage of the tickets during the first weekend, you wanted to load up that first weekend as high as you possibly could. So you'd spend the marketing, you'd build the hype, especially for this Marvel stuff, you'd go, oh, there's going to be these secrets revealed, and
Mhm.
so on and so forth. Uh, so like Captain America: Civil War, you know from the trailers that Spider-Man's going to be in it.
Yeah.
Uh, so we have our first look at Spider-Man, and Captain America and Iron Man are in it. So it's almost like an Avengers 4
Yeah, and it's a
or
better
Avengers
version of
3.
Avengers 3. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's also a much a better movie than another similar superhero movie that came out the month before.
Yeah. Yes. The Batman v Superman, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but the thing is, like, that completely front loads the box office. So this isn't a new trend exactly.
No.
Now, I would say that I know one person who didn't really like Civil War, and he had sensible reasons he explained for not liking Civil War. Just from because he was like focused on the on the villain. Like, what man? If you're looking for a good villain in a Marvel movie, that's like their fatal flaw.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the one trick pony villains that they're only around for one movie and then they
Yeah,
get killed off. Yeah.
it makes you wonder what the hell they're going to do with that Thunderbolts TV show they're talking about, because they don't even have a rogues gallery that they can have turn good
Yeah.
or pretend to turn good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, but so anyhow, like yeah, so let's not pretend. Now, actually, here's the difference. Here's the difference. And actually, Doctor Strange outdid uh, Captain America: Civil War dollar for dollar in the domestic box office.
Mhm.
However, while this is useful for comparing the trend, it is not useful for comparing the actual number of bodies that went into seats.
Mm,
We have had serious ticket inflation.
yes.
Uh, I want to say that the average movie ticket, when I heard it, I heard somewhere, I think I saw this, that when the original Doctor Strange came out, it was like $9 a ticket, and it's up to like 13 or 14 a ticket.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So this represents way more people actually going to see the movie.
Mm,
So let's go ahead and pull up the neon colored elephant in the room, or
mhm.
Ragnarok. So Thor Ragnarok, people remember it as $1 billion movie. It actually was not $1 billion movie. 850 million total, which is good, But Captain Marvel outdid it because they cheated by putting it between the two Avengers movies
Yeah.
and pretending that she was going to be important.
Yeah. Oh, God. Biggest grifts ever.
Yep. When that would have actually been a perfect place for that Black Widow movie.
Yeah. They really wasted that character.
They did.
Yeah.
But anyhow, now Thor Ragnarok I think it was well received at the time. I remember going to the theater with my friends. The audience had a great time, and
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
I laughed. I enjoyed it. And then I thought about it. Like, wait, did you guys just burn through the Twilight of the Gods and Planet Hulk in one movie?
Yeah.
And wait, did you just have the death of Asgard in a mostly jovial, jokey movie?
Yes. And having Korg making a joke about Asgard as it's blowing up.
Yeah. You're a dick, Korg.
Yeah.
Also, also, did you and then you go see Avengers Infinity War and you realize, holy shit, they saved the day, or at least they saved the people of Asgard and defeated Hela, and then Thanos showed up and killed half of them anyway.
Yeah.
Like, so this movie is pointless. Yeah, you could have had just as good a movie, or could have had just as good of an MCU if the movie had started with Thor and Loki hanging out in Asgard, and then Thanos shows up and destroys that. In fact, that would be a way cooler visual.
Yeah, and then, but you got to have Jeff Goldblum, and you got to have you got to have Tessa Thompson, and
Well, I have a bold proposal for you. Make Planet Hulk the movie. Give Mark Ruffalo a movie. We're getting a She-Hulk unique. We're getting a She-Hulk TV show featuring him before that guy gets his own movie.
Yeah.
I think it's because Disney would have to pay Paramount or whoever helped make the first Incredible Hulk movie a percentage.
I think it was Universal.
Universal, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they didn't seem to have a problem doing that with Spider-Man.
Spider-Man, and Incredible Hulk, I think, lost a little bit of money at the box office.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because
So,
I think that with that movie, the memory of the Ang Lee Hulk was still fresh in people's minds.
yes,
They're like, I don't want to watch another Hulk movie.
yes. Now, I will admit, finding out about. Oh, by the way, let's take a look at the box office. Huh? What do you know? It's still
Wow.
at the low end of its projection line, but it's not horribly low.
Mhm.
Like it's a little bit beneath, but it's not like Doctor Strange gap.
Yeah.
The other thing is that Avengers, or excuse me, I almost said Avengers Civil War. Captain America Civil War started off with again, like on an inflation basis, bigger number to go towards.
Mhm.
The other thing is that I feel like people feel like they got burned by Doctor Strange. Because what did the trailers promise? That was Patrick Stewart as Professor X.
Yeah. Yeah. You got John. Was John Krasinski in the trailer? I can't remember.
He wasn't. I don't
He
think so,
wasn't.
at
Okay.
least. But yes, like, oh, we're getting Mr. Fantastic finally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. And I heard that Tom Cruise is playing Iron Man, and and Deadpool shows up, and this is total. And what made this totally plausible was that Spider-Man No Way Home.
Mhm.
Was it
Yeah.
No Way Home? Was No Way Home the third one?
Yes. Yeah. No Way
Okay.
Home. Yeah.
Um,
With Tobey Maguire and
yeah.
Andrew Garfield.
It's like, yeah. If you can get those two back, anything's plausible. So, like,
Yeah.
and also, oh well, Doctor Strange showed up in No Way Home, so and it's about the multiverse. Could Spider-Man show up? Is Tobey Maguire going to help?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh man, they said that they have all these exciting cameos, and the exciting cameos were America Chavez and the lame version of the Illuminati who got killed off.
Yeah. And it was just yeah, yeah. Way to go. Way to go. All you did was a sequel to a subpar Disney Plus TV show.
Yes, congratulations. Now, so again, so did the audience stay away because of Doctor Strange? Was a Thor solo like the Thor solo movies were never the biggest box office draws.
Yeah.
Now again, you can go, oh well, Thor Ragnarok only made 122 million. Yeah, but that's like 5 years of ticket inflation, and especially since the lockdowns ended, way more ticket inflation than historically average from year to year.
Yes.
So again, if we adjust it for inflation, I bet that you would find that. In fact, let me see here. I think that the numbers even has a way to compare movies. Let me just we'll do this live for a second here.
Yeah, we're doing it live.
All right. Movie comparison. Here we go. So I want to do Thor Ragnarok. I want to do Thor Love and Thunder. And what the hell? We'll throw in Thor the Dark World.
Yeah.
I didn't actually mind that much. And we'll do Thor.
Yeah.
Or Marvel Thor. Let's see. Was it just Thor?
It was just Thor. Yeah. There it is.
All right. So let's take a look at a 4-movie comparison. So Thor actually did not do especially well originally. But that's because that was still in the phase of people were figuring out this whole Marvel movie thing.
Yeah, and Chris Hemsworth was not a big draw back then. Nobody knew who he was.
Yep. So yeah, the original Thor is probably profitable on the net. Go away. Go away, Vanguard. Anyway, so if you go like 449 mil, actually, the break-even point for the original Thor was like 225 million divided by 0.6, 375. Okay, so it was reasonably profitable. Decent return on investment, and also advertising for the Avengers movie. You take a look at Thor Ragnarok. We'll again do the consistent numbers. So $180 million budget, multiply by 1.5, and then divide by 0.6. Yeah, 450 is its break-even point. That thing made bank. Thor Love. So that also kind of just points to how ridiculous the movie budgets have gotten, because 175 more million of gross net to break even on the sequel is whew.
Yeah.
Well, Thor the Dark World, also 150 million budget. So back when the Marvel movies weren't quite so bloated.
Yeah.
So still 425 million or 375 million. So it actually made more money than the original Thor by quite a bit, since its total gross was like 644.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a profitable series, but it isn't their highest flying. So is comparing it to a Doctor Strange movie where they were baited and switched with the promise of Tom Cruise Iron Man and possibly some carryover from Spider-Man No Way Home. Fair.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I would say there was definitely a lot of carryover from Spider-Man No Way Home, especially since Doctor Strange was in that movie. Everybody thought, oh well, are they gonna because they introduced the multiverse in Spider-Man No Way Home, and then then you have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Like, oh, is it gonna be a continuation of Spider-Man No Way Home? And it wasn't.
No, not even remotely. It
No.
wasn't. The funny thing is that where the Marvel multiverse was really introduced was in the Loki TV show, which was actually their highest rated Marvel show because everyone loves Loki.
Yes, and I did not watch Loki.
Me neither. I heard it was disappointing in the end.
Yeah, yeah. My actually my mother watched it and she said it was okay.
Ah, yes, tepid. That's what you want. And the
Yeah.
weird thing is that the multiverse didn't, as introduced in Loki, had no bearing on Doctor Strange, even though some of the writers of Doctor Strange wrote Loki. But that's either here nor there.
Yeah.
So I think that Thor: Love and Thunder, and this pains me to say, I would love to, okay, bias on the floor or bias on the table. I no longer like Disney. I believe that they have fundamentally destroyed almost all of my childhood brands. I've joked that if they ever bought BattleTech and Dragon Ball Z, they would own my entire childhood.
Ooh.
And they keep making comic books and movies and things where I'm like, that isn't that character at all. Stop ruining them, please.
And Disney's saying, no, we're going to keep ruining your characters.
We're not ruining them. We're improving them.
Improving.
You awful bigot.
Yes, yes. Oh, man.
And Daniel, I believe you feel the same way or close to it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, aside from, and I've said this before, aside from the amusement parks, yeah, Disney has been kind of on my, the naughty list for the last few years.
So I would love to point and laugh and say, ha ha, Thor's bombing, ha ha.
Mm-hmm.
But if I look at the historical performance, and although, is there an option here to adjust for inflation?
I don't know.
Aha! Let's adjust for
Okay,
inflation
yes,
here
adjustment. Okay.
and see how that changes. All right. So if we adjust for inflation, okay. So
860. Yeah.
So suddenly, if we adjust for inflation, Thor: The Dark World actually wasn't too far behind Ragnarok, like just about 150 million.
Yeah.
So it actually looks like it's like if you adjust for inflation, it's like an increasing by like 200 to 150 to 200 million each movie.
Yes.
It's just what's interesting is that I feel like the Thor might be, first off, he's the Avenger with the most solo movies.
Yes. Which is that I that dawned on me this morning. I'm like, oh, like, I mean, Iron Man only had 3, Captain America only had 3, Spider-Man has 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, like there's no Iron Man 4 to compare to.
Yeah.
This actually but weirdly enough, I think people generally don't like Iron Man 3. I do. I understand the complaints with Iron Man 3.
Yeah, I mean, it's fundamentally a good movie. I thought fundamentally a good movie. I mean, it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, what they did with the Mandarin was really ridiculous. But I mean,
Given what they did to the Mandarin in Shang-Chi
Shang-Chi.
because to try and make it so you could actually show the movie in China.
Yeah.
Like the thing about the Mandarin is that he is Fu Manchu, like 100% Fu Manchu, Yellow Peril, evil, racist caricature.
Yes.
It's in his DNA. There's no fixing it.
Yeah. And well, and two, you can't have a rich white guy beating up an Asian man.
Yeah, or at the very least, you'd have to frame it very carefully.
Yes.
So I understand that those changes, but Thor, I feel like, has the most, like, outside of Iron Man 3, Thor has the single most divisive run of any solo Marvel character.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least major. Like I know plenty of people don't like Ant-Man and the Wasp. I know that Captain Marvel broke the internet by being divisive, but I mean, like in terms of people they keep putting into movies. Hey, Brie Larson, where's the Marvels that you're going to be sharing with Ms. Marvel?
Yeah. Yeah, where's Captain Marvel too?
Yep. But uh, it looks like an upward trajectory. But every movie has, except for the first one, has been really controversial. Like people say that Thor: The Dark World was boring. I agree that the villain was kind of uninspired, but I remember really enjoying like the bits with like the wormhole with Kat Dennings experimenting, throwing things in there,
Oh yeah,
uh,
yeah.
um, and I remember loving the family dynamics with Thor and Loki.
Yeah, and I like the last battle, in the climax where they're like going through all these like loops and everything. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, like I remember enjoying that movie, even if like we don't always bow to the popular opinion.
Right, yeah.
Thor Ragnarok, again, like I enjoyed it at the time, but I'll admit that I actually kind of enjoyed The Last Jedi the first I saw it, and then a friend and I were talking about it, and he pointed out things. I was like, "Wait a minute,
Yeah.
you bamboozled me because you had good music in the Star Wars."
Yes. Yeah, 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 I felt the same way about it, and yeah, and same with Thor Ragnarok. Like, I was laughing at all the humorous bits that were in there, and then, but then, I think I watched it again, and I'm like, um, yeah, Korg's making a joke about, making a joke right as Asgard's blown up,
Hmm.
and then you got like, the Hulk is like, "Oh, I'm gonna jump out of, Bruce Banner. I'm gonna jump out of the jet and turn into the Hulk," and then he just face plants right on the Rainbow Bridge. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what was. Uh, would it be fair to call Thor Ragnarok a Jack in the Box that you can't put back in the box?
Yeah.
Or it's like once you've seen it spring out, the trick is over.
Yes.
I bet that if we were to sit down and do like a watch along with Thor Dark World and versus Thor Ragnarok, I bet at this point we'd probably have more positive to say about Thor Dark World.
Yes. Yeah. I've always I've always thought that like the way they were going with Thor was going to be more like a sort of like a high fantasy type of
Yeah.
direction, especially after seeing the Dark World. But then they did Ragnarok, and I'm like, okay, well, what's this that's going on here? You got this like weird, like 70s vibe going on, and like, okay, and
Dayglow 80s, yeah.
yeah,
Like
Dayglow 80s, yeah,
yeah. A level of of noxious coloration that was not technically possible in the 80s.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
and it's hmm. So now you might wonder, where's the super high budget? And we've talked about this before the show, but we did not talk about it so far in this discussion. Valiant Renegades cited an article from, I think it was Deadline Hollywood, where it almost seems like 50 million was shaved off of Shang-Chi's budget and plopped onto Thor's budget. Because I remember watching Shang-Chi, and 150 million seems a bit low for that, unless you're playing Simu Liu and like packing peanuts or something.
Oof, oof.
Which I don't think you are. I don't think they did. I think they probably paid him plenty for, well, for his relative worth, or relative experience in box office draw and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we know that if he had underpaid him, he would have been complaining on Twitter. So since
Yeah,
that
yeah,
hasn't happened yet,
yeah. Well, I'm sure his salary was better than Robert Downey Jr.'s on the first Iron Man.
probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, So, but 150 million seems a bit low for the amount of special effects they had. On the other hand, I've heard multiple people say, I didn't see $250 million on the screen
Mm.
after watching Thor Love and Thunder. So, what Valiant Renegade was citing there was that uh, there was a shared space in Australia where the two movies were filmed back to back. And so, because they could do some cost savings if they engaged the same space for an extended period of time, So it could be that Disney did some monotonous, you get 200 million, you get 200 million, you get 200 million thing that we keep joking about.
Yeah.
And that just as like a matter of accounting, they counted those expenses towards Thor, probably because they said, well, Thor is a sure money maker.
Mhm.
So we'll put it against Thor, and that way, if the untested movie doesn't do as well, it looks better.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
that last part about the accounting trick and why they would do it that way is just my speculation.
Mhm.
But it does seem like that is how those movies got to their relative positions.
Yeah, it wouldn't that wouldn't surprise me in the least that that they would go that way. Yeah, just because I mean, it well, I mean, pretty much any company, a lot of companies these days they do clever accounting tricks like
Yep.
that to
Oh, yeah.
you know.
And Hollywood is the worst at it. I remember hearing a story about the first Men in Black movie where the director, it was either the writer or the director, said, "I don't know why Sony keeps making these things. I've never seen a cent in royalties because apparently the first movie lost lots of money."
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I've heard a similar story about Bohemian Rhapsody.
oh, that
The
movie they came out with a couple years back about Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. Yeah, that movie made I think it cost like 50-60 million dollars, and it made like 800 million total box office.
Yeah.
And the studio, the production company said that movie lost money. And the writer,
What?
cuz yeah, cuz yeah, and
55 million budget,
yeah,
886 billion worldwide.
and it lost money. That's what the studio told the studio told the writer, because the writer hasn't been paid any royalties on the movie.
Oh, that is the most egregious example of Hollywood bookkeeping I've ever heard.
Oh yeah.
That that makes shifting 50 million off of Shang-Chi and putting it onto Thor Love and Thunder. Uh
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah. That looks like small time. Yeah.
yeah. Now the interesting thing is that if you do that math and treat it that way, Shang-Chi suddenly goes from being a narrow win to a fairly sizable box office loss.
Hmm.
Because if you so 150 million, we'll just do the bog standard 1.5 times divided by zero point 0.6, 375 million. So pretty decent like profit there.
Yeah, about $50 million profit. Yeah.
Yep. Uh, but if it was a $200 million movie, 1.5 divided by zero point 0.6, suddenly its break-even point is 500 million, which means that even
Ooh.
when if you factor in these Blu-ray and DVD sales,
It.
it's like a $50 million loss.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that was kind of my now. Of course, Disney couldn't predict exactly how much it would make, putting it out as their first non-Disney Plusified release under in 2021.
Hmm.
But again, I suspect that's why because imagine if they'd done it the reverse. Oh yeah, Shang-Chi, our new headline hero, $250 mega production to make $250 million mega production.
Yeah.
Oh, Thor, yeah, 150 million.
Mm.
Like that would not be proper hedging of bets.
Right. Yeah. 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 You go with the one that will make money, as opposed to, yeah, the unknown, yeah, the unknown hero that nobody had ever heard of until they announced this movie.
Yep. Incidentally, if this is actually correct and it is the full 50 million that got shifted, because again, like I'm basing this on nothing but the fact that every single Disney movie we have looked up in recent years on the podcast, it's become a joke. Like you get 200
2
million, and
million.
you
You.
get two
Yeah.
hundred million, and you
Yes.
get 200 million. Just
Oh.
monotonous.
Oh, a new Marvel movie, 200 million. Here you go.
Animated Buzz Lightyear adventure, 200 million. How much did Encanto get? Oh,
Oh, that's a good question.
what do you want to bet it's 200 million? Let's find out. It wasn't. Oh, 150 million. Oh, that
150.
it was a
Ooh.
budget movie. Actually, it kind
Mm.
of felt like a budget movie when I watched it. Uh, uh, not in a like a. Mostly the reason I say that is because most of the movie takes place in one house, and it was like a very elaborate house.
Yeah.
But you CGI design one house, and suddenly like a big chunk of your production is done.
Yes.
Anyway, so back to Thor.
Mhm.
So that would so that could so if that was true, that would mean that the real break-even point for Thor was also 500 million, which means that it's making that back.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
On the flip side, if we choose to believe the stated budget, because hey, just because there's reality, then there's accounting,
Hmm. Yeah.
then it's still has to make it 600. What was it, 625 or 675?
625, I think.
625, right?
Yeah.
And of course, that's assuming just the bog standard. You take the movie, multiply it by 1.5 to get the advertising budget.
Hmm.
If the numbers I'm hearing are right, that this thing got like a 200 million advertising budget. Again, this is just based on listening to. I've been listening to all sides on this one, and this is part of what inspired this particular topic. Was it's Schrodinger's flop.
Yeah.
So if you take that all in, 450 million
Hmm.
5 by 0.6, you're looking at $750 million just to break even.
Ooh.
That I don't know if it will reach.
I don't, yeah. I don't. Yeah. If it keeps going the way it's going right now, I don't think so. It'll probably it'll be short of that.
Right. So this is one of those things where Bob Chapek knows how successful it is.
Hmm.
Or will know how successful it is. They will put on the best face, but I have a feeling there isn't going to be a Thor 5.
No, because yeah, well, and yeah, a lot of that is because Hemsworth is not getting younger.
Nope. As much as he looks it.
Yeah.
But but also just like, and this has kind of been this phase of Marvel in general. Like, ever since Thanos showed up at the end of Avengers, you knew that at some point
Hmm.
there was going to be them punching his wrinkly chin off
Yes.
his head.
Hmm.
But what is the Marvel universe about right now?
I don't know.
Some shows are about aftermath of the blip. Some shows are about like it's all aftermath of Thanos at this point,
Hmm.
or it's unconnected stories. And that's kind of the thing I hear about Thor: Love and Thunder is that it's like, okay, what's the point of it? You doubled down on the comedy that was already divisive, so you've probably driven away a chunk of the audience that was like, eh,
Yeah. 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 You've lost. I mean, you've already lost a good chunk. A good chunk of people have already gone because they said after Avengers Endgame, they're like, "All right, I'm done."
yep. But it's interesting. So I would say that I was not expecting this to take an hour, but but
Yeah. Well,
it's a complicated topic.
yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. The business of Hollywood is, yeah, very convoluted, and I mean, we could probably talk about this for hours. And
Right. Well, I mean, Midnight Edge in the Morning manages it 3 times a week. So,
oh yeah.
uh, but it's like, and we just get we're just viewing it through a glass darkly.
Hmm.
Um, and so I think the answer is that, again, is it the rabbit or the bunny? I don't know. It's, uh,
Yeah.
it definitely, I'd say that the movies that are the movies, the YouTube videos are like woke Thor flopping, Marvel in chaos. You're overstating your case a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you can argue that it's underperforming compared to what Doctor Strange was. You can compare it's underperforming because, well, Thor Ragnarok came out during winter, where in summer movies tend to have like except for actually both like the holiday frame and the summer frame are the times when you have bored kids who most need somewhere to go to be quiet and cool for a while,
Yes.
just so that mommy doesn't have to Mommy doesn't start binge drinking in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
But so but they're hard times a year to compare summer versus fall.
Yeah.
So that's another factor in it. But and I would say that the fact that it doubled down on the least palatable parts of that particular movie, like, and actually that kind of brings us over to our good friends at Rotten Tomatoes. Like the fact that, like, on the one hand, if you just look at the raw numbers, like, okay, it's doing fine, calm down, people.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, when you have Rotten Tomatoes' own podcast titled Season 1, Episode 5 of Rotten Tomatoes After Show, Thor Love and Thunder, The Dawn of MCU Fatigue, question mark? Like, they're seeing something.
Yeah.
So that's it's interesting, and it's not doing too great professional wise. The top critics, I think I heard that if you average out the 67% and just focus on the top critics, it's in the 50s. Like, audience score is 80%, but first off, well, we know that could be manipulated.
Yes.
But there's also the fact that if you're part of that silent group who decided, I don't feel like seeing another Ragnarok,
Yeah.
you wouldn't see the movie, so you wouldn't be in the audience ratings.
Right. Yeah. And the way they've and the way they've got the audience score now is you have to have been a verified ticket purchaser in
Right.
order to give a rating.
Yeah, I think you have to like verify you did it with like Fandango or something, or
yeah, with Fandango, which you could think the Captain Marvel backlash for that. Yeah.
Yes. So like that's gonna tilt it up slightly. It's like if you do a presidential election poll and your sample is 80% Democrats, like, I wonder who's going to come ahead. Or if you did like 70% Republicans, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
So it's like you're tilting things. It's actually kind of unusual. I feel like if people are getting the movie they expect to see, then you'll usually get a good audience score off of there. So that isn't necessarily too indicative. The critical reception being low is it's interesting. It also just makes you wonder if is the RT podcast just trying to make controversy to attract clicks? Because I didn't even know there was an RT podcast.
I didn't either, and yeah.
And then I saw then as I was looking up the reviews here, I was like, wait a minute. There's Rotten Tomatoes is openly talking about Marvel fatigue. What? It got my attention. I didn't listen to the episode, and I won't listen to the episode.
Yeah.
But it got more attention than it had previously.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah. So the answer is it's complicated. I think that it's going to be it's not. I think it's going to be mild, whatever it is. It's not gonna like. But we'll know next weekend.
Yeah. Do we want? I know we're not very good. We haven't been very good with predictions. But
yeah.
Do you want to make a prediction about where it'll end up?
Yeah. Let's throw our hat in the ring. Okay. Yeah. So I feel like there is enough bad will towards this movie and enough aimlessness with Marvel, and the fact that Ms. Marvel was their lowest rated show ever. And we've been seeing diminishing returns from all these Disney Plus shows. I think they may have finally choked out some of the core Marvel audience, because basically people will show up for Spider-Man because they love Spider-Man. But Spider-Man isn't exactly MCU.
True.
So I'm going to throw my hat with I'm going to throw in my hat in this particular race with it being just about break even.
Okay.
And I'm going to assume I'm saying actually it depends on which number. I'm going to predict somewhere. Like I think it's going to like go to like 650.
Okay.
I'll put that there. Like that would give it like a mild profit based on that traditional number. it would be a significant loss depending on, or if it was that other one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and say 650 to 700.
Yeah, I think I will. I think I'll go with that prediction too. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Because it doesn't have a lot of competition, but I also think it's going to slow down a lot. Because just like even like the well-received Marvel movies bottom out fast usually.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I've noticed that. Yeah, especially the solo Marvel movies tend to do that.
Right. I will say, like, sometimes when I look up data points just to do for random purposes,
Hmm.
I'm surprised by what I see. But like all these Thor movies, like none of them leg up.
Hmm.
Um, they they just they just flatline after. Well, okay, they they make a lot of their money in their opening weekend.
Hmm.
Um, excuse me, didn't get to the mute button in time.
That's all right.
Uh, I'm still getting over my COVID, though I'm feeling much better.
Mm.
But yeah, so yeah, so we're staking our prediction at 650 to 700. Take that for what it is. We actually predicted better for Lightyear than it got. So
Yeah.
maybe our prediction means that it'll just people will stop going to it tomorrow and it'll bottom out like 400. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
But we try.
Yeah, we try. Yeah, it's an educated guess, and
Yep.
yeah. So, all right. Well, I think we have exhausted this
Yep.
exhausted this topic. Thank you everybody for watching us. Whenever you're going to be watching us, well, probably on Thursday. We're recording it on Wednesday. Um,
Yep.
Hit the please hit the like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't
Comment.
already.
All that other
Comments,
good stuff.
yes, comments. Let us know if you like us doing this as a
Hmm.
separate video as opposed to having it part of our weekly live stream, and hit the bell for notifications too.
Yep, indeed.
Yes. All right. So we'll see you next week. Regular show, all that good
Uh,
stuff.
that might we'll talk about that.
Oh,
That's
okay.
something that I just remembered. But
Oh, okay. All right. Well, in
we'll
on
see you
that
when we
note,
see you
yes, we'll see you when we see you later, everybody.
later.